It's 7:03. If you would call the meeting to order, it looks like we have most folks here. On Zoom, we have Kimberly, Ali. Is it Ali or Ali?
Ali.
Mr. Ali, okay. And then in the room, we have,
Nithya.
what is it? You say again?
Nithya.
Nithya.
Yeah.
That's my apologies.
No worries.
Chris, Ann, Julie,
Well,
Bill, Maureen, Ed, and Erin. Are we missing anyone, Erin?
We are missing Rocco. He's going to be showing up late. He let me know. And then we are missing.
Will, no,
No, Will's here.
Sir,
Is that everyone?
I think that's everyone, right?
Leah, Ed. No, I
And then-
think everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rocco.
it's everyone.
Well, welcome, everyone. So we don't have any public on the speak.
Nope. Mm-mm.
How do we usually do it here? Do we usually wait a moment, or is if there's no public, you just jump right in?
You can move right on.
Okay, great. So since there's no public comment, I'll just move right to approval of the minutes from April 10th. Does everyone have a chance to review them?
yes,
Erin, just one tiny.
Yep.
At the last, I think, I can't remember if Ann second or she, but I think she's listed twice.
Okay.
Approval of the meetings from last time.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, the adjournment it was at the very end.
Oh, I'll amend that.
Yes.
And then I can do that right now. Okay.
Okay,
So I'll move that we approve the minutes with the amendment as identified.
and seconds?
and
Okay, and seconds, yeah. Do we vote on this? No, right?
No discussion,
Any discussion on the minutes?
no,
No?
so we would vote to approve that.
So we vote to approve them?
Yep.
Do we do a
I'll
roll
make a
call?
motion,
We
I'll
just,
make a motion to approve the minutes. You need a second.
But we need to do a roll call because we're hybrid and we have people participating in hybrid.
Okay. all right. So we want to go around the room?
So just want to, aye,
Do you approve?
yeah, aye.
I'm abstaining. I wasn't here.
Okay, well,
Right.
aye. Aye.
Hi.
Aye,
Hi.
Kimberly? Approve the meeting minutes?
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
Ali?
aye,
Ali?
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
Great. Thank you. Okay, next item is the Economic Development Council guidelines. I just want to put this on here. So, and first, I want to thank everyone for putting your trust in me as your chairperson. I ran the CPC, was it? What's CPC stand for? Community Preservation Committee in Malden. We were pretty, you have to be formal because of open meeting law and everything, but we're pretty informal, had great discussion. Everyone was amazing. And I very much see us doing the same thing here. This is such an incredibly talented group. And what's nice is I don't think we have folks who are worried about speaking up. So it's kind of nice. Where I think we're gonna have really great discussions. Additionally, we have a wealth of knowledge of institutional knowledge in the room. And I think it's important that we understand we're going to leverage that and we're all going to learn from that. And then folks are going to come up with new ideas. Like we've already had this, we've already come up with some new ideas. And just to keep the dialogue going, understanding that maybe something was thought of before, and maybe if you get a lesson from some folks who've been here for a while, like, yeah, we tried this, this is what worked, this didn't work, and have really a robust discussion. Chris, do you have anything to say?
no, just that I too am excited about what this group can do, and it's nice to have some money to actually spend and feel like we can make an impact in what's going on in Wakefield in the next, 6 to 8 months, and I think we should make an impact on what's going on in town in the next 6 to 8 months.
Great, very good. So as far as guidelines, we have been meeting monthly. Does that still work for folks to meet monthly? Or do you want to, yeah? So lots of nods. Yes?
I think in the beginning we should meet monthly to maybe get going a little bit.
And then you'd want to meet more frequently, or
Would you like to meet more?
I think probably every 3 weeks would be better.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have a different thought?
I just think that we should bear in mind that spending of funds is really important over the next several months. And so frequency may matter more during this, this coming period than perhaps afterwards.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with every, third week because, to Ed's point, we've got some funds that we've got to get allocated and figure out what to do with. So I don't see why we couldn't tighten that time frame. And then as we get past, what you might want to call a critical point in time, you can kind of back off a little bit and watch what we did flourish.
I'll just say that for obvious reasons, it's gonna be a little bit trickier for me to attend every 3 weeks, but I'll do my absolute best to be as many as I can.
Anyone else? Ali?
I think I can do every 3 weeks. That's fine.
Every 3 weeks will work for me.
Lisa?
So I'm pregnant,
Oh,
Congratulations.
due August 22nd. So till then, I can definitely make more frequent meetings, but after that.
By August 22nd, we will have the world conquered. So don't worry about it.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay. 3 weeks is a good, 3 weeks from today would be
So,
very good. The 7th? June 7th?
I think also with that frequency, it's a little more forgiving if people do have to miss a meeting. Because, if you miss one, it's okay because there's another one coming in a short period of time.
be the 6th.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we want to do a Friday night meeting.
So 3 weeks would be like, the 5th?
So the 5th or the 6th.
What works better for folks, Wednesdays or Thursdays?
Depends on the week.
So if we did,
I'll do Wednesday.
we
I
did,
realized that Friday is my anniversary, so I definitely can't be there.
if we did the Wednesday?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Just for the space too, FinCom meets here Thursdays too,
Mhm.
so it would probably be better because I think it actually works well for us.
Yeah, I don't think
Screen.
the only other one that really works is tonight is Board of Health, but I don't think they meet the first week. That's the first week,
First
right?
week, yep. Yep, 2 5th. That work for everyone?
Same Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Okay.
Folks on Zoom? Does Wednesday the 5th work for
Yeah.
you?
That works for me.
Yep, okay,
I'll double check on the room too.
okay. And then 3 weeks from then is the 26th, June 26th.
That makes sense. It's before the 4th and.
Yeah.
Right, so that.
Might have had to tighten that up anyway with the 4th of July week, so I'll just make a motion for those 2 days to be the next 2 meetings, and from there, we'll reevaluate how often we need to meet through July. Everybody good with that?
Yeah, because July can be a tough month.
Yeah.
Patient.
Okay, So Chris has made a motion, someone a second?
I think you can just accept
Yeah,
it as
it's-
chair. Yeah, it's chair prerogative to set that because you. said
Thank
that.
you.
Okay. Great.
So that's the,
And this time works,
the 26th, right?
Yeah. this time 7 o'clock works for folks? Yeah. Okay. So with us doing that, and to Chris and Ed's point about the, us kind of having a deadline, we have a deliverable and a deadline. Do we want to just wait on the subcommittee schedule and like just focus on the ARPA funds, or do we want to try and do some subcommittees? What are folks thinking?
I think the last meeting, we all put ourselves into a subcommittee. Maybe if we could tell who's on what committee.
Yeah, it's in the meeting minutes.
I also printed out too, packet here, just broke down the goals and stuff and move things around, and then put what committee people said they would be in. And Ally got back to me today that she would do marketing. So if anybody wants a copy of these, I have that here. And just make sure that I put you in the right group. Yeah. These can be added to, I know we talked about this last time, being kind of like a, anybody else like one? You did? Yeah. But these are moving things, just kind of to get started as a subcommittee and the goals that were put together for this economic development group as a whole.
So if we're meeting every 3 weeks as a council, would it be too much to also then meet for subcommittees? That's what I was, yeah, that's gonna be an awful lot at the front, right? So I'm wondering, because does everyone have a 3-year? Like, we're on the council for a while, right?
We actually we staggered it so that some people are, because it's just starting. So it's, some people are for a year, some are for 3, some are for 2,
Right. So there is a,
but it'll be a
But
3-year.
There's actually some people that expire this year as well.
Okay.
There's 3 people, yeah.
So, but then every reappointment would be for 3 years going forward.
okay. Just
To
saying.
that end, how does the reappointment work? On a 1-year term?
Anyone, if you're on currently and want to reapply, you can.
And you'd reapply and be a 3-year?
Correct, because all the terms would be 3 years going
Okay.
forward. Yeah.
All right.
So since we kind of, this is a long-term council, right? It's not, the goal's not December and then we disband. So I'm just thinking, do we want to focus on our subcommittees up front, or we're doing the work on the funds, or do we want to really focus the next few months on really working towards the funding side of, putting up the recommendations for the funding? and all
Well,
that?
I think part of it's driven by the timeframe on the funding. I was under the impression that if this money isn't committed by, is there a date? We're going to lose it?
The year, well, yeah, and there's also concerns about clawbacks already being discussed. So what I might suggest is that at this point, maybe we collectively focus on the ARPA allocation right now, and then we can kind of find our way into the subcommittees more. I think every 3 weeks is a pretty significant commitment as it is. Subcommittee work on top of that, and we can kind of find our way if that works for this group.
No, I think we should definitely focus on the funds, because that's, what's going to get us kickstarted, and we're going to roll from there.
I was also thinking too, some of these groups, subcommittees, some of these programs that come out of the ARPA funds, there might be things that are targeted to each of these subcommittees where you could use that extra expertise or assistance myself, that like marketing, say we decide to do some sort of marketing campaign or business brochure that the marketing people could help me with. You know what I mean? So maybe that can just happen naturally as well. Just a thought.
So we all agree we'll focus on the ARPA funds for the first 2 June meetings?
Please.
Yes. So we can just say yes to that?
We-
All right, the next, does anyone else have anything that they'd like to add as far as guidelines or clarification on how we're going to operate?
I think
Questions I'll definitely ask.
Yeah.
Because this is all relatively new to me, this entire process. So, if it just seemed quiet, I'm just trying to absorb as much information as possible.
It's new to all of us,
Yeah. Okay.
what it's worth.
Sure.
Having
Well,
opportunities,
this like formal meetings,
except for our counselors.
the entire jargon, I'm just, I'm trying to look up and my thesaurus here and everything. So,
So this is a new committee, so thank you for volunteering.
yeah.
I think totally great. I think this is like to make decisions, you're doing everything right. I think to use Erin. So once you set the calendar invites, like once with those meetings are set, Erin, you'll get on everyone's calendar. So we don't need to add it ourselves. Like you'll send it with the Zoom information. I think it's great to do meetings till June, and then we'll reevaluate. Most groups meet less frequently over the summer. So even the council meets once in July and once in August. So I think that's a good consideration as people have travels. But yeah, I think it's great. I would suggest, I don't know if you need formal subcommittees, but the subcommittees are so great. Like, and I think they go hand in hand with the ARPA funding, like I think talking about marketing and talking about collecting data and talking about recruitment, retention, it's going to go hand in hand, right? So I think that's just a thing to think about, is if the subcommittees do meet.
Was that a raise of a hand?
I really think
It's like it's on auction, right?
I know, right? It's brought some expensive.
Oh,
since we've had, folks who have identified their areas of interest, I think that perhaps just those individuals really be thinking from this meeting and, going forward about like, okay, in the realm of like marketing, how do I see those dollars being best allocated and deploying that way? I think we can kind of do that, as a group, but with, I'll say, like subject matter experts, if you will, kind of advocating for particular projects they think would be most beneficial to their specialty.
So what I think is going to happen, Erin,
Mhm.
is you have, like, you've already ticked through a lot of this stuff. So you already have ideas about where it would make sense. And then I know the town council has some ideas about it falling into grants and that sort of thing. So what would be great is you sort of putting forth the foundation. So like there's grants, right? So the town council wants to do grants. And then you have ideas about the pop-up markets and how things will go. And as you get into it and folks are coming to you, so the business is gonna come to you and say, hey, I'd like 50 grand to do my facade. So as that bucket starts to decrease, my assumption is you're gonna come back and say, this is wildly successful, I need another
Mhm.
X amount of dollars. So I would really look to you to and you correct me if I'm wrong, to kind of really drive the conversation around where those funds would make the most sense.
Mhm.
Because it sounds like an awful lot of money, but when you get right down to it, it's gonna go quick. That's my 2 cents.
so, to that, it goes quickly. Is there a way to use any of this money to leverage other state or federal money?
Well, that's kind of what, I think the sign and facade program, if we decide to move forward with that, it's kind of leveraging $100,000 from Kate Lipper Garabedian,
It
which
was 150.
the 150 was what was talked about the town council. It was just some dollar amount thrown in there, but no, it's 100. And so I actually just had to extend my contract with them because I was waiting for a sign rewrite that we talked about this last time. But now with that, we're kind of leveraging the state funds and then the town funds as well. There's another program too that we can talk about tonight or another time where it'd be leveraging some private funds as well.
Talk.
Well, I don't want to get off the agenda and I'm not the one the chair anymore, so. But yeah, I think there's opportunity there, definitely.
From like a guidelines of council, I do think, to your point, and to your point, I do think if we can get the state delegation to come, at least for a meeting or to kind of have these conversations and say, what is there that we're not thinking of? That if they have some ideas, like maybe something's coming down the pike that they know of, where we're working on certain programs and they're like, oh, this falls right in with what we're trying to do at the state level. I think that would be really helpful. So who would I don't have great connections, but I have some connections there. Do you want me to reach out and see if they'll, we can do that?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
great.
work with Donna Long and
Okay.
Kate. So
Okay, great. So Ann's gonna take that as an action item to reach out to the state delegation. Okay. Anything else, folks? So item number 5, the town councilors, if you have any updates, this is sort of to give you a moment where you can talk specifically about maybe some town things that are going on and how you see things, maybe what's going on in the town perspective that flow in here and vice versa.
So we had our reorg meeting on Monday. Ed was elected vice chair. Mike McLean is the chair. So that's the next year. Chair McLean has asked for all of our priorities and what liaison groups. So I think Ed and I will both be reappointed to this as liaisons, but talking about priorities. And so, it's all intertwined, economic development and our priorities and what our focus is going to be on the next, for the next year. And so I know I listed, economic development and making sure we spend all our ARPA money and those projects get off the ground and running, whether it be sidewalks or renovation of the senior center. We've got lots of great projects coming up.
Can you give a little more detail on that, the renovation of the senior center?
Yeah, we allocated 400,000 to renovate that building. So it's got this, it used to be an old school. And so there's a, I don't know, did any of you guys go to that school?
Played street hockey in the backyard.
Yeah,
Amen.
so lots of people went to that school for as the senior center, and the top floor actually was like an auditorium. And so it's got like a stage. It's very cool, but it hasn't been used in years. And so we dedicated some funds to kind of get that using again, which for this group could be used as a music, like a function hall, like a auditorium, which would be kind of cool. And then really the third floor is really storage space right now. So thinking about how do we get that with the focus of being for the senior center, because they just don't have enough room there. So there was money allocated for that. I'm trying to think what else we did that wasn't specifically for.
Would that money open up some kind of venue for people to use and?
That's the hope.
That's the hope.
Rent and
Yeah.
something that you could.
That's the hope. So, we get inquiries all the time, right? And so one is we talked about this at the first meeting. We don't really have venue spaces, right? We've got the Savings Bank Theater. But we don't have a movie theater. We don't have something like that. So I think it would potentially be something that people, whether it groups in town or individuals could rent out. I think it's going to be a really great space.
Yeah.
So that's the hope.
And what's the timing on that?
Under contract by years.
Yeah, it has to be under contract. I don't know when it'll be done.
Because these are ARPA funds too, right? So they
If
have
it's
to
ARPA
be,
funds, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's also opera.
The ARPA funds.
So just for background, the commitment for ARPA funds is sign a contract to spend it?
Yeah, so that's where the timing issue comes in. Yes, we have to at least be under contract by year's end. But the issue is there's been a lot of rumblings about, potential clawbacks of monies that haven't been allocated so far. And so that's part of the concern about trying to move this along while we have the money available to us.
It's every third week.
Right.
And where are the rumblings coming from?
The federal level, ultimately, which falls down to the state. But it's more at the federal level about.
So the faster, the better. The faster on the contract, the better, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And, we're obviously don't want to be, careless in how we're allocating these dollars, but we do, I think that if we are able to, as collectively as a group, think about, okay, what are the shovel-ready projects that we can create for folks? That would be really important. Bear in mind too, that we have the Envision project, and in fiscal 26, we'll have our first leg of that. And that will ultimately be a complete transformation of the streetscape of our downtown area, from water all the way, upper common, all the way down to the junction. So there's going to be a lot of work that's being done relative to that with state dollars. That's going to be, think of like, sidewalks, bump outs, crosswalks, all of those items, allowing for outdoor dining more efficiently. So that's coming in, but now how do we think about, from like the facade perspective, how we improve the aesthetics? We don't really need to allocate this money for trees or for sidewalks within the business district, for instance, because that's part of what that funding will be for. But thinking about, one of the biggest benefits to Public Kitchen is the ability to open those windows as they can. Again, figuring out, are there other businesses that can do something similar to that? Are there other businesses that just want to have, maybe some new windows so they can display better, or like awnings, or, whatever the case is. And so I think as a group, this kind of probably is the next piece is, can we talk about all right, what sort of criteria, what are those priorities that are going to be most immediate and deliverable for us? And also, what is the criteria we want to establish? Do we want to have straight out grants? Do we want to have any sort of matching component to this so that there's some buy-in by the landlord as well? I think we should be thinking about that. But those are all the sorts of things that even with even with this timeline that we're talking about 7 months, basically, it's going to go very quickly. It's going to fly by, and we want to make sure we're not scrambling to try to just dole out dollars at the end of November, in a way we don't want to do. So.
So when you talk about the envision downtown, does that also include North Ave? When you talk about downtown, do you include North Ave and sort of the surrounding, the streets that are off of Main Street?
I don't recall any North Ave component.
Not really. I mean, it crosses over North Ave on Albion, and it deals with where Grayson Lofts, that area by the 7-Eleven there. And so there's some traffic reconfiguration, but for the most part, no, there are other North Ave projects that are being looked at from a safety standpoint, especially Church North and Prospect, for instance. That's DPW is working through that from the traffic lights and things of that nature. But the North Ave businesses, no, there really isn't anything there relative to that. Albion, yes, as we've seen between Main and North Ave. And it's really segments from the lake all the way to the junction where the Dunkin' Donuts is, the car dealership there, and all over to Water Street. So that's really kind of the area. So think about that streetscape being very different, and how can we perhaps complement that as one option? We also have Greenwood, as another consideration, other business districts as well, Four Corners, things, So I just think we should perhaps be thinking in those terms.
Thank you. Do you have anything else?
Well, the only other piece too, just from a process standpoint, this came up at the last meeting. I spoke with our town administrator a couple of times on this issue. The town council has already voted to allocate, these dollars for these economic development purposes. So at that point, it doesn't present as necessary to go back to the town council for reapproval of particular projects. In fact, it could be,
That's what I was waiting for.
it could be problematic because then it seems like we haven't actually allocated the dollars, which is part of what we're supposed to be doing in this process. So it can be administered through the town administrator's office, and Aaron is an extension of that office, by design. And that's where the sign-offs can occur. Updating at town council meetings like we do with warrant articles and other items makes sense for us to do for informational purposes, but the town council has already acted in its capacity to allocate the funds for the work that we're talking about now.
If there's a new idea?
It's very broad. I mean, the allocation from the town council was really economic development, is all encompassing. So unless it really falls far outside of that, then it's allocated.
Excellent. Thank you. Item number 6 is Community and Economic Development Director, Erin.
Yeah, so I'll just give a few updates that are a little different than the discussion of ARPA funds just from my office. I've been working with a number of businesses that have come through my door looking to open up here. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I sign on Main Street where Kumon used to be for a daycare provider. I've been working with her to make sure she's following the right process. And I think we all talked about this, like being that point of contact. So I sent her an email, introduced myself, and we found out there were some bumps along the way that she didn't know about. And so she's now working closely with the building department to make sure she's following the right process. So I've been in contact with her. She'll have to get a special permit, I believe, and things like that. So I have an ongoing conversation with someone that everything that's told to me is public information, but a wine and cheese shop potentially. I tried to find them a space on Main Street, but have been working with them to move forward on potentially finding another space in town. And so put her in touch with another property owner on Water Street. So keeping my fingers crossed that comes to fruition. So yeah, I've had a few other businesses that have reached out, hoping to set up a meeting with the folks over at the Shawmut building to surprisingly, I haven't been in that building. We've tried coordinating a number of times for me to go through, but I know they're doing some work. And so trying to get someone in that space as well as the Smith's Drugs building, which I'll talk about a little bit later about what I'm proposing or an idea I'm proposing. And then Inspire Cafe. So I've been having ongoing conversations with them. You know, they are doing some work on the space where the bread shop used to be. They'll be locating there, and they received grant funds from the town council, which was great, to do some build out in that space to make it more ADA compliant. So I actually talked to Adam Rogers last week. They are looking to potentially do a quick pop-up for the summer like they did last year, working with the folks at Project Pop-Up to rent one of those trailers at a private property this year, and kind of handling that, but I'm just handling the town side of things and working with them. So a lot of different things going on, and also ongoing conversations always with the folks over on Audubon Road. But in regards to kind of some projects I'm working on, I'm working with our DPW to fill out a grant, and I think this really is huge economic development for the ACE building, to do an underutilized properties program grant, hopefully. This basically is funding that you can apply through the state. And I want to do it this year. I won't get into the nitty gritty, but next year, hoping there's still an opportunity next year, but want to put it forward this year in this grant cycle. To redo and put an elevator and a shaft going upstairs. So we can utilize, is everyone familiar with the ACE building, the Albion Cultural Exchange? No, I'm sorry. I just say it like, I apologize. So it's a building that the town acquired, goodness gracious, how many years ago now? Wow, it's been a town building for a while, but it's been
10?
what? Yeah, it's a long time, but the town now, I highly recommend, they're doing a lot of more events there through the recreation department for young children. But the upstairs, we can't use it right now because it's not ADA compliant. So it's a lot of underutilized space that could be artist space, shared space. I'm even thinking we could carve out some space that people could rent and work there. But it's all contingent on making it ADA compliant. And I think that's a huge economic development driver for our downtown. They have storytelling events there on Friday nights. So there's just so much potential there. So we're just trying to find the funds expensive to get something in there to utilize those upper floors.
What kind of money would that grant be?
I think around $1 million,
You need all that.
1.5, I think it may go up to. Yeah. And private property owners actually can apply for this grant as well. And I've sent this to a few downtown property owners. It's called the Underutilized Properties Program through Mass Development. And, but it's through the state's grant cycle. So I've sent it to 2 properties downtown that I thought could benefit from it. They haven't applied for it. So, yeah, so we're working on that with DPW. I just wanted to bring up something. Will, I know at the last meeting you talked about business cards, and I know you sent me an email as well. So
That was the last time I was going to ask.
yeah, no. So I did have some internal conversations, and I'd love to open up to this group as well, just while I have the floor, because I didn't want to forget later on. I think it might be best if I give you guys a copy of my business card, because when you meet with these businesses, I would hope they'd reach out to me about spaces that we have available. I think it's really great that you guys want to go out and give cards with your names on it. Again, I'll open it up to this group. I would just think maybe they should reach out to me like, oh, you should talk to our economic development director. I think you'd be great for the town. I'm on the economic development council. But if you guys would like your own business cards, I can possibly work with Jen to get something going. So I'll throw that out to this group. Or you don't care, either way.
I think you would know best about space availability.
Yeah, and programs available.
I think it's best that we would give you our card.
My card? Yeah.
So the reasoning, if I recall correctly, is because you felt that this would help you sort of get your foot in the door easier?
Well, the foot's already in the door.
Okay.
I'm just trying to show as much legitimacy when I'm going down and spelling this, that, and everything else. Reasons why to come to Wakefield, et cetera, being able to have that would be a help. But if you think it's better just to hand your card out, that's fine.
No, I don't think, not better or worse or anything. I'm just thinking you could say, talk to this person at town hall and they could help like direct you. But it's just, that's what my job's, and again, I'm indifferent. If you think that would be really helpful to you guys.
You do both? I mean, I don't need a business card, but if it's gonna be helpful, could you do both, like,
I could probably get some.
Or
for Will and?
the business card's like a bridge to you. Like, basically, the correspondence you'd be directly CC'd on, please speak with Erin moving forward about the spaces that are available, et cetera, et cetera.
Will you make the introduction? No.
Right, yeah, just because there could be discussion between me and the owner of the business.
Yep.
I wouldn't have a chance to send all that information over to you in a timely fashion. So we'd have to, either way, it
Okay.
doesn't make a difference.
No, I just
I've been
wanted,
to two places, like, do you have a card?
yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Yeah, I think work on getting you one and then just I'll give you, everyone here, a few copies of mine as well. If there's people that you meet, you can give it to them too.
receipts.
And then other things that we'll maybe talk about later, we've been talking, this may come up in the ARPA discussion, but internally with Jen McDonald, our communications director, myself and our town administrator, Steve Mayo and Sherry Dalton, about the flags downtown. And I've brought this up to Julian and Chris. They're pretty weathered. We were talking to our DPW, potentially doing new signs. Yeah. Are you going to bring out with the chamber? Because I was going to say we may have a way to split the cost of that.
It
Yeah.
might be something in.
Money coming from Jason Lewis.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So it was asked that if talking about streetscape and how this ARPA funds. So Steve, Jen, and I were originally thinking that we could pull the money maybe for streetscape improvements, to do new banners from this pool of funds, kind of fitting with sign facade, to do some new signage downtown. I met with John Smolinski last week from the Chamber of Commerce. He's like, oh, I just wanted to tell you this. I put in something earmarked with Jason Lewis to do new banners downtown. I was like, okay, I'm glad you brought that up because it was on my things to talk about. So there might be a way that we could split that cost with the chamber, so then we could get banners for the Four Seasons. So I don't know, it would roughly, Jen got quotes. If the town paid for it all, it'd be roughly around 14,000. So this would include seasonal banners as well as the Wakefield one, generic Wakefield ones. And I know John and I spoke, he got a quote for 8,500, but it was 2 seasons,
I
right?
was on the Wakefield Main Streets.
Yeah.
with the Banners, and what we did was, we did the Wakefield banners.
Yeah.
We did 25 of them.
Mhm.
Because we split it off the seasons, but we
Yeah.
only did winter. We did winter and summer.
Yep.
We did not do spring because of the veterans, and we
Mhm.
did the fall because of the veterans.
Mhm.
We did the winter and the summer, so that's, you see the, whatever, is winter still up next?
Veterans up now.
Yeah, they're up now for the,
Yeah, so it was Wakefield in a season, then Wakefield and the veterans, and Wakefield in summer, then Wakefield and veterans again. So the Wakefield stayed up, and I've talked to Dennis Fazio many times, and he says that they are really kind of getting dilapidated, so.
yeah. So that was great. So I just wanted to give an update because I was going to bring it up later in the ARPA fund. So I think if the chamber does get the money, that's wonderful. If there's a way that they need more funds, I'm wondering if that's money that could be pulled from this ARPA fund. So I've talked enough. Those are kind of my updates. I'm sure I'll talk more about programs too.
Can I just say something about the banners? Former town councilor Julie Smith Galvin sent a picture that I will share, or with you to share to everyone else. But Somerville has non-cloth banners that they've incorporated that last in bad weather. And so we should explore that too. if
Lasted better in bad weather? Yeah. Okay.
So
That might
she
be a
sent me a picture the other day, right? I think there's a way to figure it out, just to something that doesn't, the elements in Massachusetts aren't so great. So if we could make it of some
Okay.
wood, or I don't know what it was.
And you mentioned something about the grant application process for the ACE money
Yes.
and the underutilized property grant stuff. Maybe that's something we should be publicizing and
Yeah.
putting into the hands of these property owners, because if this money's out there, and we talked about leveraging money, well, why aren't we broadcasting that, as a town crier,
So there's,
some of this stuff?
yeah, so there's certain, but I completely agree. I guess I kind of made that sound like, oh yeah, you can just use this money. So it has to create jobs.
I
It's,
guess I was looking to explain the process.
yeah, so I don't have it open in front of me, but,
That's fine. Off the cuff works.
so the point of this, and I think now everyone knows the state's big thing is creating housing, right now. From my understanding, last year, they, gave good amount of funding to projects that were going to promote housing. At first it was supposed to be more like commercial development, but it seems like last year the funding went to housing, if I recall it. That's what my mass development rep told me. But the point of the grant funds is to, take, second, third, fourth story buildings in your downtown or commercial districts and be able to make improvements that would help bring it up to speed. And it can be everything from site planning. So even the beginning stages, like if you just need the funds to do, for example, I'll use like the ARIA building. He's trying to figure out all his fire code stuff, trying to figure out what he needs for the ADA, trying to figure out if there's a capacity to even build onto that. So you can apply for money to have someone come in and do all that like work for you. And the funds can also be used to actually go for the development as well. Everything from like air conditioning units to the build out, just in general, putting in sprinklers, things like that. But I agree. I mean, it was geared more towards like commercial development and creating jobs, but I think last year was geared more towards housing. But it is something that I think, unfortunately, many of our buildings downtown don't really have, there's not too many with second or third floors, but that we should be promoting a little bit more. So
You have your own section on the town, because that's for like a branding and a marketing, all of this, it would be great to kind of just new council, there's this new focus on economic development, social media, putting stuff out on LinkedIn. I'm not a social media expert, that's as far as I go. Like maybe that's something that we could maybe allocate a little bit of funds to put together a economic development social media space. But I didn't know, do you already have one?
We can really have it created through our communications department here.
Yeah.
So we can do that internally without cost.
yeah. You guys want to talk about like 7 ARPA funds? Is that what you want?
Are
Okay.
you done? Are you done? Does anyone have questions for Erin?
Erin, could part of your, I love you talking about the people you're having conversations with. Could you, as part of these every 3-week meetings, like if there are new groups that have come to town or like ongoing conversations, like can you, because I feel like you do all that all the time and like, so if there are any new, just make it part of your update of like, oh, like you just
Or
kind of
update.
did it, but I
Yeah.
feel like
New people I've talked to.
new people or like, and like not just the exploring, but like so-and-so moved in. Cause I feel like we not need to highlight those, my favorite story is I'm totally forgetting the new coffee shop that you recruited to come here. It's not you anymore. Rise and Shine.
Oh, right, Annie. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you were so instrumental in her deciding to come here. She's looking for housing here because she wants to move to Wakefield. And I think that's just such a great success story. So, and they have really good coffee.
Yeah.
So I think as you can have those conversations too,
Yeah.
please share those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, those are what I love doing day in, day out, is having those conversations. And even though the hard conversations with the woman that's doing the daycare, like, oh, you can't just put up a wall, you need to have a permit. But knowing that I'm there to kind of help them. So if you guys even talk to anyone and they don't know where to start, I might not have the answers right away, but feel free to send them
Drop your
away.
name all the time, Erin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Or maybe sometimes I don't.
And then I think just what Juliana was saying, I think, if we could ramp up the website and social media, but I think share some of those stories also.
Okay.
I think that's really, and I don't think you need to come up with like a newsletter per se, but I think that like gearing up of like, let's share these success stories, right? And like, it's easy when we get the new banners or when a new business, we do the ribbon cuttings all the time. But I think some of those other things that we can talk about would be really great just to have on our website and push out.
So within the communications department, not to step on their toes at all, but is there potential to maybe hire a consultant, a temporary content person? Because you you got to come up with a content, and I can't imagine that you're gonna have time to do coming up with content as well. But just hiring someone who's, their focus is on exactly what you're talking about. So the,
Content and design, or content and design.
yes, I was assuming that the communications department has their own design.
Do they?
But absolutely.
I mean, we have like the standards, like town
Yeah,
wide standards in terms of, like font and style and whatnot. Jen McDonald, actually, she's great with this. So I think from a content perspective, we could lean into her talents relative to that. I think
yeah,
that'd be a-
no, I just laughed. Jen and I have a really great working
Yeah.
relationship. And so I think too, with the content, yes, I could tell her what I'm looking for and she could whip something up for me in like 2 seconds, you know? We're kind of, just so you guys know, on the website, kind of stuck to what we have. Unfortunately, it's like if you look at every town website, they all look the same. Unfortunately, it's Civic Plus, I think. So the creativity is a little, can't be what I think I'd love it to be, to kind of market to businesses. Idea I had, and I talked to John Swinsky too about this, is creating kind of like a marketing packet and slide deck, if you will, that then people could go to our website and find out more information. But maybe using these funds too, maybe use an outside consultant to put that together for us as more like hard copies, like something you could bring with you when you're going to visit a business.
Yes.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, yeah,
That branding can cover some of what Will's talking about.
yeah, yeah.
If you Economic Development Council do that. And geez, here's what I have, I'm part of the council. Here's a link to go see what some of the stuff that we're chatting about, what we're doing. Well, while I'm here, this is who we are. Here's our link. This is some of the stuff we have going on
Mhm.
in Wakefield. This is what we're working with. And when you love how much this is looking, good for you, and then you go talk to Erin and she'll make it all work.
Closer.
We can also park all that information on the website as well.
Yeah,
And-
yeah,
And
mhm.
like, if we have, a business card in circulation, we can just have a QR code on that, and
Mhm.
that someone could just get right to the website that way as well. That particular part of the website. So it can be a digital packet as well as a hard copy packet.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
But I think it makes a ton of sense to do that. So we do have some functionality there. We just can't be super creative on the website.
No,
but-
yeah,
But we
yeah.
can at least, we can park a lot of material on there. We just don't want to direct people that are trying to have them like just navigate through a rather, it's a little boring just because it's, it's a municipal website. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not flash.
That's my point. If we can, to your point, make something that doesn't feel like a municipal website, because this is a separate council.
So if there's an
Under
opportunity,
the banner, but
if there's an opportunity to sort of like, the kids, right? I look at you like you're, they're not gonna go to a website. They're gonna look for Instagram. They're gonna look for,
Well, that we also do though. The town has social media presence in addition to that, which we have a little more creativity that way,
Yeah.
certainly.
chat, whatever.
And even on the homepage of the website, we could have a button or a link, like for economic development specifically.
Mhm. Yeah, I think.
We can do those sorts of things, so you're not navigating through the website, but just wakefield.ma.us, hit the button, and then opens up a splashy packet. That's stuff we can.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely, put a packet, what I'm thinking of, because I don't know, that'd be great to hire someone to do a website, don't get me wrong, but who's the one maintaining it? Is that what you're talking about, creating a website, or?
Not a website, more like a social media presence, like Facebook now is outdated, like even Facebook's outdated, but like putting an Instagram site or someone who really does
Mhm.
social media would be able to go. You don't do that now, you do whatever the next thing is.
It's real.
So that,
Yeah.
so that you're actually reaching folks who are, they're young, they're entrepreneurs, they got the energy.
You want to
If it's something,
Jen about?
Yeah,
that?
let me talk to Jen, because,
2-3 reels a week, with economic development spin on it is, and.
because I just think it's an
I
opportunity.
see all these realtors with, multiple reels a day.
yeah, I think we just have to be careful from a municipal level, what we can and can't post. It's very challenging. Jen's the one that does our Facebook page. So that's all that's in the back of my mind. I'm not against it. I think it's a great idea. I'd have to talk to Jen because she talks to different municipal communications directors of, they have kind of breakoffs of Instagram and things like that. And what that looks like as kind of a marketing tool. So can I report back on that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But what I was thinking is more of like little old school, but like like a packet highlighting Wakefield with demographic information that would then be kind of tied to a slide deck that I could send to businesses through emails and things. Those are the things I was saying. It's not as cool as Instagram, but I think those tools are really helpful because a lot of times people ask me like, oh, can you just give me more information about demographics? It would just be really helpful. I think I sent you my slide I put together, but of that type of information that could be working with Jen. If we had someone do it, maybe Jen could even do it. I mean, she's very talented. Where the money would just be used for printing, really. So I don't know.
Or we could also explore if there is someone that's, targeted and because it's.
Doing that type
Doing
of
it, it's a
PR.
one-shot deal type thing. Yeah, so really from like the PR space, right? Thinking about that, and then Jen could always update and like obviously work on design and things, which is even from a content perspective, focus on what businesses are looking, potential businesses are looking for. That might be helpful. And again, integrating that, so the hard copy materials have QR codes, things like that bring you to another place so you can see it on your tablet or wherever you're looking.
That's why I would feel comfortable going into some place with a packet, say, in your card. So I would explain that I was on the committee, but, I would have something in front of me so we're on the same message. I wouldn't want us to each be given different messages. So you have one packet and you go and.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Maybe it's just a campaign, you're like open for business, like, Wakefield's open for business.
yeah,
type thing,
and that's kind
how
of
we
what John and I
put it
talked
out.
about. They used to have a brochure, the chamber in partnership with Paul Rivas. I think it's time. He's like, well, I'd love to do a new one. I'm like, yeah, let's work on this together. Let's get a packet going, both slide deck and this, and we can work on it, together to recruit new businesses and let them know, why you should locate here. So, really for that.
Another thing we should probably all be mindful of when we're thinking about this going forward is the types of business that would be the ideal businesses to add to the community. From a personal perspective, I'll say that anything that is unique and becomes a destination business and something that isn't directly competing with Amazon, which really, I think, the future of what we're looking for. So things like the wine and cheese shop you had mentioned, there's some really nice ones around in surrounding communities that are draws for folks. The bread shop had been a draw for folks, and we've lost that now. I do get concerned about spaces like banks because they're dead at 5 o'clock. Also, even the new space that you mentioned, the Kumon space, it's going to be a daycare space. So you're going to have parents are going to have challenges parking because people are going to come and go at the same time. And also after 5 o'clock and on the weekends, you're not going to have, vitality there. And so I think it's really important for us to think about, all right, when we have businesses like that, where can we maybe encourage them or connect them? So maybe they're not right on Middle Main, but maybe a side street that makes a little more sense. And so we have, because that's really it's a good storefront. I see an awning, I see new windows, I see that really being something. And like childcare is not really, what's going to liven up that area. So I think we should, as a group, be thinking about what are the sorts of businesses that we want to see. You always hear the breweries, Aaron, you hear that all the time, you're working hard on that. But what do those businesses look like? And then who has the connections that can, hopefully will, as one example, so we can really try to identify what we're looking for and then try to execute on it.
I was hoping that, the marketing subcommittee could, and then the data collection and stuff that we do would really help with identifying what, businesses we want to attract that would cater to the, demographics of Wakefield. And what the need is, even, looking at surveying and finding out more information. So, yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. If we did get something under contract for like a brochure or whatever that may look like, a slide deck, working with the marketing subcommittee to do that, to get data collection, like what should actually be in this? What do we have different ones for different groups of what we're trying to recruit? So yeah, that'd be helpful. So I jotted that down. I'm also going to reach out to other municipalities about what they've done for kind of PR, marketing, and recruiting businesses. I know I should say Lowell because I worked for a nonprofit in between these two times, but Lowell, we did have a packet and it was really helpful for us too.
I know Malden as well, especially by City Hall. There's been a lot of development, a lot of unique places that have gone in there. So I'd be curious to see what they're doing. I think every packet we can get from every community.
Yeah.
Just take the best
Or see
ideas
the-
from each.
Yeah,
And then figure out what our differentiators are that are able to stand out. And it would, you know, of course, can leverage the lake for a lot of these things, right? There's really no business that's at all associated with really fitness or the lake in any way.
Mhm.
I don't know,
So we agree.
when I go running in Lexington, there's like a, you know, running store there because they have a bike path, you know, like we have a lake, but we don't have a walking, you know, walking store, running store.
So I know Kevin Duffy in Malden. You want me to have him give you a call?
oh yeah, I know Kevin. Yeah, I'll reach out to him. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I have a huge group of like 50 economic development folks that we email each other quite frequently. So I'll put this out to the group if they've done anything recently. And also I think we should build upon that grant funds that we got 2 years ago, that we had a local company do, Kevin York Communications. They did 4 videos highlighting why people locate here, why your business should come here. And so I think the tagline was like everything within your reach or something like that. And so maybe that's something we build off of as well.
Which that was a nice video.
What?
That was a nice
It
video.
was a nice video. Yeah, there's 4 of them. I was actually just shared it with a business that was looking to locate here. I said, when you have a chance, check out these videos. So
Actually, Erin, through you, Madam Chair, it actually, I love those videos. I had neighbors in those videos. I actually think I would love for this group to actually talk to businesses that have chosen to come here too. And hear
why?
like other than the daycare who's having issues, but why did they choose? Why did Bubble Tea come here, Albion Street, right? What was easy about the process? What could we help streamline? Because I don't want to forget that, like, I think there's things in the process that we can help you with, making it easier. And so we do have new businesses that are coming in. Like, let's talk to the business owners. Why did they choose Wakefield over Reading, over Stoneham?
I love that.
So I would love to have them come in at one of our meetings, you know, not public comment, but like have a conversation, make them feel like they're part of this. So,
Great idea. Love that.
yeah.
I just want to do a quick time check because I know we have the important stuff.
Yeah.
Are folks still okay? It's almost 8 o'clock. Is everyone still okay?
I actually have to jump off because I have to run to another event now, but I will see everybody in 3 weeks.
Okay, thanks, Ally.
Okay,
Ally.
bye.
Okay, very good.
So sorry, I have to use the ladies' room real quick
All right.
before we jump into the bulk of it, but.
So, so I put it as local, I put local stories, right? Local stories. That's great to hear, businesses, like, I think if we had businesses that have been here for decades, businesses have been here for X number of years, and businesses that have been here brand spanking new would be great. Do you folks do anything like that in the chamber?
Yeah, we celebrate anniversaries of
Okay.
businesses.
Do you have them come in and sort of present to the chamber?
No.
Well, no, not to present, but we have our newsletter that we acknowledge businesses. Significant anniversaries.
I'm curious, do we use the Facebook Wakefield group ever? Like, does the town council ever advertise anything in the Wakefield community page? Because it's one of the most active Facebook pages I've ever seen for any town. I mean, I use it all the time. My wife uses it all the time. You know, she organized an event and 20 strangers showed up on very short notice. So it's a really efficient and free way to get information out there fast.
My understanding is that Jen in communications, she posts on our Facebook page, and I believe she does share this to the community. I think she does. Aaron, do you know whether
I
Jen
don't think I've ever seen.
shares posts from the town to any of the community groups or
No,
on a website?
no, I don't think so.
Maybe it's others have. I've seen those posts on there, but maybe others have shared them. So
Yeah, I think sometimes maybe someone else will share the town, but I don't think Jen directly shares that.
Like as an example, if we said that we had donated this much money for, X amount of dollars for sign and facade, having a whole bunch of business owners in Wakefield find out about that really fast would be just a post or two on that page.
I know Jonathan would put he would do his meeting minutes from the council meetings. He'd put them on all the Wakefield community sites? Because there's a number of them, right?
There's one main one.
I don't know that there's any, I don't think we have any prohibition of,
That's what I was gonna ask.
we're able to do that, right?
I'm sorry, so are we just talking about potentially sharing our programs on community
If
pages?
Jen were to share like posts that she would have like on our town Facebook page, if she were to share those onto other community group pages.
I don't know, that would be a question for her. I can find out.
It sounds like the consensus would be if we can do that, we should be doing that as another way of.
We could also,
There's-
I think the concern, and I won't speak for Jen, is controlling the comments that come with
Yeah.
that, because you can't really.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Ali, do you see a lot of businesses on there? I mean, I
Well,
see
I
a lot
know-
of folks asking for like my kid's 16, does anyone have a part-time job? But I haven't
There's a-
really,
yeah, there's a lot of like nonsense. I saw raccoon stuff, but there's also a lot of people promoting their business. And I think the rule is that, don't quote me on this, but if you have a business, you can advertise it on the page once per month. And if you have multiple businesses, you can actually do that more than once per month. And one way to sort of circumvent any kind of rules is just have, none of us, but like civilians essentially say, hey, just found out about this amazing program that Wakefield has. There will be negative comments, but there are for everything that ever happens in town, positive and negative. So I don't think it's that big a deal.
right. I wonder if she can put a post that says, there's new stuff on the town Facebook page, check us out. Because then she can control the comments.
Yes,
She does it that way, where she says,
Yeah.
stuff's up,
yeah.
check us out.
Well, I mean, also, since we have a marketing subcommittee, that would be a great opportunity for someone on that committee or multiple people to rotate, and just anytime that the town pushes out something, someone can just push it out to there's like Wakefield Moms is a big one, maybe not our members. Wakefield Community Group and Wakefield Community Page are probably the three largest of them. But that's something that could be done. You could do that as a resident. But if we have some kind of concerted effort to push out that content, maybe that's a way to make it easier.
Yeah, I agree about the comments. I would be concerned about the comments.
You can turn them up too.
Yeah, that's what
I think-
I was just asking Aaron. I think
Yeah.
we could, right?
Yeah, I'd have
I
to
think
check.
for municipal government, you can't do
Oh.
that.
Yeah, so
So Jen knows all the rules.
Yeah,
I don't want to get so caught up on social media because that's not the purview of the group, right? Like it's one tool we have and Jennifer's great about that, but I think like just don't get, because we're a town, we just have to be a little more careful about.
Absolutely.
But if you're sharing as individuals, you can do that. So let's just keep that in mind.
Sorry, how did we get on this?
Outreach for grant money.
Oh, see, like letting people know about programs we have available? Oh, okay.
So Ali had suggested putting some of this on the local Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Pages.
Yeah.
That's how we got on.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
But all that could go out through our town
Yeah.
website and I mean, through our town Facebook page. And then if it's any content that's shared, it's as good
Yeah.
as getting it out there.
I think
Yeah.
that's the safest way to
Yeah.
do it. I always tell people to sign up for our town news. If none of you get our town news, I highly recommend it. But Jen and Sharon as well will send out any news that's coming out, for example, like Salem Street this week getting paved. You'll get a notification to your email. Any programs that I've run in the past, if I ask her to send that info, it will go out. I also have done a news in the past, unfortunately. I got pulled in a couple of different directions over the last year with agency town meeting. So my newsletter didn't go out as much as I'd like, but I do have a contact of like 300 businesses in town I've built up over time that I've sent information out about programs that are available both at the state, especially during COVID, during federal, state programs that are available to them. So that might be another avenue for me. And it just goes directly to businesses. And if you're not on that, want to be on that, I apologize. Let me know and I'll add you. I think all the counselors are on it too. I just haven't set one as of recent.
You could always send the link of your newsletter type thing to the chamber.
Yeah, and then they can,
Here's the link for the newest.
yeah, it's true. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different ways we could reach the audience, reach an audience without, I think the community groups are great, but I think from a municipal level, it can get really tricky with those groups. So I would recommend, pretend I'm Jen, that we stay off those maybe and use all different other avenues that we have.
Anyone else have anything for Erin? Great, thank you.
Just out of curiosity, is there a way of having like a spreadsheet of available commercial space?
Yeah, so
Even a small one that you just have places that you may not off the top of your head, because there's not a database that I'm aware of for commercial leasing, is there?
not an
It's
internal one.
It's hard.
It's super hard.
It's hard
It's
to.
super hard, yeah.
I've tried to become a commercial agent, and then after a couple of years, I was like, this is just wasting my time, basically. But picked up a lot during the process, and being able to, speaking with owners, whether it be, I love the wine and cheese shop idea, by the way. And obviously, I'm focusing on bringing a brewery here, to be able to spout out, oh, we have this space over here, this space over here. Aaron can give you a couple more ideas, because they're, you know, if they're a successful, really good brewery, they have to expand, just like Treehouse has. And, you know, why not here? They want to be the first to the location too. So.
Yeah, so I belong to, I don't know if I've said this before to this group, maybe I've talked to you about it, a subscription called CoStar when I first started. And that's kind of are you familiar with CoStar? Is anyone familiar? So it's a national subscription to see what's available for lease, sale, all commercial. And so I belong to that, but with Wakefield being such a small community, I felt like I wasn't getting what I needed out of it, and they're not best at really, like Boston, they're awesome. They know all the different spaces that are for lease. They were great at telling me what was available at the places on Audubon Road, but the small mom and pop, you know, owners in
Exactly.
downtown, those are hard. So I did end up creating, so I don't belong to that anymore. I ended up creating my own internal list that I update quite a bit. It's not clean. It's just something I have. So like, oh, if someone's interested in that space, I just pull it up. More than happy to share that with this group here, but it changes so quickly too. It's so hard to stay on top of. But I do have something in-house. It's not the prettiest, but I do have something.
Yeah, I'd like to know, I'm just curious, like how many empty storefronts are in Wakefield right now? And a lot of the breweries want to have something pretty to look at. So obviously we have the lake. Anything around the rim would be the most sought after location.
I don't know the answer. Is that a question? How many empty storefronts? I don't know on the top of my head. Oh.
I started trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a baseline of what is available out there, period. And then work your way back for places that are going to be coming available in the next couple of years.
Yeah, a lot of what I have done in the past for space is cold call. So I had a brewer that was very interested in more of an industrial type space. And so I ended up calling all the business or property owners on New Salem Street and seeing what was available. And that was like the most successful I was at doing that, finding what was available. Because a lot of times they don't even market what they have available, which is wild to me.
Right, it is weird.
Yeah, so that.
Thank you. Item number 7 is the Economic Development ARPA funds discussion. So we have the 3 projects that Erin had mentioned at last meeting.
Mhm.
You want to just give some?
Yeah, so I can give some updates. I'm just gonna pull it up in front of me. So these are the 3 programs that we could probably hit the ground running tomorrow, potentially, if we wanted to. And so the first I'll talk about is sign facade, but then also I kind of had some different ideas too. I wanted to open up to the group about how we move forward with different programming. And so I'll start with sign facade, since it's number 1, or facade and sign. So we've talked about this in the past. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought, yeah. Here I'm just getting it for myself. I'm so rude. This program would be kind of going back to getting more funding. I've had $100,000 from Caitlin Bergerabian, well, the state delegation in general, for the last year and a half. And I've been kind of just waiting for the right time to use some money. I was hoping to update our sign bylaw, overlay sign bylaw, and now with Samantha Elliott, who's our town planner. I'll ask her to attend one of these meetings too, because I think economic development planning are very interrelated. Update that. So we're currently going through that. And I just think it's a perfect time now for us to roll out this money. So what I'm asking from this group is $150,000 to kind of match the $100,000 that the state delegation gave us. And what I'm proposing is it being a matching grant fund to potentially be 50 all the way down to 10% from the businesses. And the grants can be up to $25,000. But we could also go higher. But I just wrote $25,000. I know that's not much when some of these business facades need a lot more, but I think some money's better than no money. And I want to be able to open it up to a lot of business and properties. So you'll see here, I kind of break it down, kind of a program description. It's both for facade and sign. Kind of where the funding came from. Eligible applicants. So who can apply? Commercial property owners or commercial tenants in the town of Wakefield. The commercial tenants must apply with approval of property owner as a co-applicant. They have to be all up to date on their taxes and all that. Must be visible from a public right of way. Given preference to folks in commercial corridors. I do have ineligible applicants and something we can talk about, but I pulled this from a few different other communities that have done it as well. So gun shops, pawn shops, sexually oriented businesses, bodywork businesses, franchises. So eligible projects that would be under this would be facade renovations, including the restoration of architectural details, installation of new lighting, signage. This would include blade signs and window signs if you wanted, new windows and doors, painting of the storefront, exterior landscaping, ADA improvements, and then other general improvements. All the signs must comply with our sign overlay district as well as our signs. Some of the businesses aren't within the sign overlay district. And that's something that we'll work with the businesses on because we're actually working on changing that over. So I think this would be a good time if you look at Hart's Hardware as an example too. They have the new awnings. So I think we'd be looking to have more awnings in town. And then we would do kind of a project review and scoring. It will be reviewed by town staff, including myself, our senior planner, building inspector. And then if you guys would want to be involved, no, I can take that out if you do, don't. Members of the EDC. And then just, scoring will be based on applicants making sure they're following the bylaws and are working with us, located within commercial districts, who prior would be given to property owners and businesses who use local vendors for sign and facade work. I also am a huge proponent of this. As much as I love helping a new business, I think there's something to be said when you're giving money to folks. Being in business for 2 years, I'm flexible on this, but it's something in Lowell I found we'd give money to folks and then they'd be closed 3 months later and you don't see that money again. So it'd be nice to know that the business has, but I also want to help new businesses too, because I know, those funds help them a lot. So I'm open to discussion on that. And I'd love to open this up in June and have it open until September where people can apply and then awards in October, or we can have a rolling basis too. And then it would be a reimbursable grant. So they would pay and then we'd pay them back. And go ahead. And then I have the application that I included as well.
Does this go to the property owner? Or does this go to the leasee?
You can go to both. So the leasee what do you mean, this?
So if someone's looking to do an ADA compliant, that has to be the property owner, correct?
Yeah, so the business could be like, I really want to do this. It would help my business. It would have to be a co-application
The property owner.
with the property owner. Yeah. Anything that has to do with someone's building would need to be signed off by the property owner.
There's facade improvements and then there's taking care of deferred maintenance. Are you making a distinction between the two, or is it, if it's your facade, it's your facade? You've let it go for 20 years. You're coming to us and we're gonna.
That's where I think the matching grant funds come in. I struggle with that one.
Yeah.
You've got to get money from the building owners. I mean, I certainly, and I think 10% is light. I would want somewhere around half.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at a project that's going to be $20,000, $30,000, and we're offering them 15.
Yeah, we had chatted a little bit about tiering it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if someone's got if they really need 150,000 to make it. This one building, I was parking and the guy came running out and said, you can't park here, there's bricks falling off the building. I was like, oh, you got this town? He's like, no, I'm the owner. I'm like, what's bricks falling off your building? He clearly has an awful lot of work to do. So if he was just like, yeah, I'd like to get 25,000 so the building inspector is going to go and say, I'm trying not to,
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
yeah, so you need $150,000 worth of work. We'll give you 25, you really need.
Yeah, not putting a Band-Aid on it type thing.
Well, in
How would that work?
discretion as to what you're actually gonna do. We get you some facade money, but you're gonna wrap around and fix the bricks on the backside of the building that no one really sees? Or are we limiting it to, facing
Visible
storefronts?
So-
landscapes.
Yeah, improvement visible from streetscape.
Mhm. I also don't think $25,000, that's why that max, is gonna help buildings like that. They have much bigger problems. And I would, as much as I would love in some of these buildings everywhere in town, I think that would be all the money for some of these buildings.
But we can also keep in mind that this is an application process. Just because someone makes a request doesn't mean it's going to be granted.
Yeah.
So that's where the discretion piece comes in. I think talking with building department,
Mhm.
asking, maybe taking a look for new businesses, maybe looking at some, asking them to submit some financials or a business plan, for instance. So we have a better
Yeah.
sense of that. So it's a little bit more of a little more scrutiny there than a business that's been around for 20 years. We could do that.
I was going the other way. I was actually thinking we should put more. Because looking at some of the facades, that's what I was thinking, is looking at some of the facades, they're going to need, some of the facades are going to need an awful lot of work to actually fix the problems, right? To make them look nice, right? So I was going the opposite direction of saying maybe it shouldn't be 150, maybe it should be a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, I think 150.
Ed's eyes, Scott?
What's that?
Your eyes are like. I was thinking maybe that we should have a discussion, is 150 enough? Because I can see someone coming and say, I can toss in 50 grand, but I need another 50. And that would cut through quickly, but if it was gonna have an impact of really making a huge difference on one of the buildings downtown, I think that would really be something that we might want to consider.
I would just offer that the town council, when we were talking about this, there was a lot of emphasis on signage and facade and the idea of beautification, because the town benefits if we have a better looking, business district. So, I mean, I would suggest a couple things. One, maybe we think about it being rolling, as you said, because I don't think we should necessarily have to wait for all of them to come in if there's a worthy project. I would even just going as high as $500,000 for this. It's about one half of the amount. And I think from a priority standpoint, this is probably the biggest priority and the priority that we can address quickest and have the most impact for folks.
I would think 250, and then you're gonna come back and say, everyone's coming, these are good things, we really wanna, so that, like, you'll get a sense pretty quickly of what that number is.
And I just had a comment on the retention for the awardees. Maybe, is there a process in which you could roll or release the funds in a yearly manner, in a tiered fashion?
That's a question about these funds, because
Just the ARPA piece.
yeah, it would be one thing if I'm holding on to this money until you've been in business 2 years type thing, but I can't hold on to the money.
Right.
Unless we create this trust fund, or trust or whatever, which I'm still waiting to hear if that's even a possibility. So as of right now, I want to say no. I like the idea though.
To your point, could you put in for the year or at the discretion of so if someone came and they were here for 9 months, right? That's kind of what you're
Yeah.
thinking, yeah?
Yeah, no, I was thinking more, I mean, they're awarded like 50K, but you would release, 25 this year and 25 next year, so you have
Have a
2
big
years.
project, yeah.
I think also keep in mind what is it that we're doing. So if we're releasing 50K and we're going to improve the facade of a building, then even if the tenant might leave, we still have the benefit of an improved facade.
Right.
So that's probably when we're scoring, what
Mhm.
the criteria is looking at, because some of these things, it's almost,
Official too.
like tenant, like agnostic, right? It doesn't really matter who the tenant is as long as we're improving the building, because the next tenant coming in is going to be going into a nicer space. So maybe that's something that gets, factored
Yeah.
in there.
I think that was one of Julianne's points of leading with the word facade instead of sign. Because, yeah, signs can come and go as tenants come and go, but cleaning up the facades in a given area, that's kind of permanent, or at least as permanent as, you know, construction materials can be over a decade or two.
And the ADU stuff, I think is, because you put an elevator in and it's, what did you say it was, 1.5 million?
Oh, well, no, I mean, that's as much as you can apply for. I want to say like 800 to 1 million, depending on what we decide to get.
So choose that.
Although signage is small money to be able to bring a lot of businesses into better compliance with,
Yeah.
with what we're looking to do in like kind of
And improve
wooden
it,
signs, gooseneck lighting, things like that, you know, so there is that benefit to it. Like comparatively, it's not a lot of money to be able to have that kind of impact.
Yeah, I actually reached out to some local vendors. I heard back from one on typically like what the cost would be for a sign in our sign overlay. Said no more than $5,000 at most, so.
That's not free.
What?
That's not free.
No, nothing's free.
I had a question. It's Rocco. Sorry I'm late, everybody. So, hi. So, the administration of the funds, so we give them money for facade or for the projects they're doing. Is there what's the follow-up from us? Or is there someone or group that's gonna make sure that the funds are used in the way that they're requested for, or how does all that work?
So it'd be reimbursable, so they wouldn't get the funds until we know that they did what they're supposed to do.
Perfect. Okay.
I feel like that's the best way to do it.
And would we have any say as to using local contractors or Batten Brothers Sign, or you know, that kind of local businesses to try to give them a shot in the arm as a,
Yeah.
you know, from all this?
So I did put in some language, kind of project review scoring, saying that priority will be given to property owners and businesses who use local vendors for sign and facade work.
Perfect. Yeah, that's good.
And maybe if it's really an ambitious project, maybe we could find a bank, Rocco, that might be interested in helping out too.
I don't know of any. You kidding me?
Actually-
We'd love to do that. We'd love to
Actually,
help with that.
Yeah,
Believe me.
I know, and I talked to John Smolinski too about this as well, because they used to run a program as well with the banks, actually.
Mhm.
And so he said, anyway, he can help. He'd be more than happy. He was going to share the application. And we were talking about another program that we might work together on instead. But so I'll work with that. Also too, I think we should include nonprofits. I realized I didn't include that, but nonprofits as part of this too. I'm thinking like Inspire, they're potentially going to be, I mean, I know they already got money, but down the road, if the funds are somehow still available, and any other nonprofits that may, you know, come into town that need signage or things like that. So I'll add that language.
What do folks think about upping is that outrageous or increasing the
No,
rest amount?
I don't think it's outrageous. And it would make a nice broadcast to say, this is the kind of money we have available as you roll out the program, to say it's up to, you know, $400,000 or $500,000, you know, maybe you don't have to commit all of it, but you know, that silly little phrase up to means if we decide it's, you know, 200 or 250 coming out of the gate, and we see the kind of response we would like to see, then yeah, maybe it can be up to 500.
That's a good idea.
I think it's a good selling point for Aaron or Will, for anybody that might be like, hey, by the way, this is a good time to get in because they have $500,000 that's available right now to help you, you know, get established here. Yeah, and if there aren't worthy projects, then if they're not awarded, then the money can come back into the
So you're
pot.
saying they up to $500,000, but the town would kick in 250 though, if we're going to do 50%?
The
I was
same,
saying-
or,
Yeah,
I was saying 500, the town kicks in 100. We
Oh,
use
wow.
500 of it, yeah. So it would be $1 million.
Oh, I'm thinking of each project. I was like, wait, we can't do that.
Oh,
No, no,
I'm
all
sorry,
together, all
altogether,
together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the 150 instead.
Yeah.
500, which would be $1 million worth of impact, right? Because
Yeah.
if we do a 50/50.
Potentially.
For instance.
right.
which seems like that sounds significant. It's a 7-figure impact we're making in a short period of time.
So we're not like, you know, this is a smart group, but we're not smarter than the council. So why did the council come up with, I mean, everybody's smart, right? So why did the council come up with 150? Did you?
We
guys-
didn't. No, we only came up with the full amount.
Okay, so you didn't break this out?
We
as-
didn't.
Okay, right.
I saw something. That's, yeah.
I would say, just
It was
because
like-
when you look at the leverage, so you're leveraging 100,000, I would say we do 4, because then you're leveraging, you've got a 25%, whatever the 25% leverage, and then it's 500,000, and then if you need to come back and say this is wildly successful, I have 45 people, right? So you come back in June, you're like, I got 45 people.
So the 400,000's from the town, another 100's from the state delegation?
Well, I
Yes.
thought we had 100 from Kate.
So yeah, so it's 500 altogether, but
So 400.
from the town.
400 ARPA, 100,000.
Call it our ARPA money.
Our-
So that still gets us to the up to $1 million of impact to 50, matching.
I just want to make sure that's okay with everyone else in this group. That's just a lot of, that's half the money, basically.
Yeah, no, we're open for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, again, I think the point is contingent upon success of, the program. And what does that mean? What is the threshold for that? I guess that's something to discuss, right?
So discuss, what do you mean, what's the threshold?
So like, what does success mean?
define it?
And are we starting with an initial amount and then looking at applicants who've, applied and awarded and then increasing it up to 400? And what does that, look like?
And that's the point of saying up to.
Right.
So, you can advertise a number. If there's no call for it, there's no call for it. If you can't get business owners to buy in with a 50% reimbursement,
They're never gonna do it.
then they're never gonna do
They're
anything.
never gonna do it, right?
Right.
So, you can market up to $500,000 in, grant money for your facade improvement.
Mhm.
That's an impact statement for a business owner to say, really? How much? And then, soundbite catches their ears and eyes, the details backfill as to how it's gonna work.
Mhm.
But by then, you're already having a conversation and you've already got buy-in to a degree. You just gotta close with what's available.
Sounds like a salesman over here, does he?
I think also just be mindful of the fact that it's going to be Labor Day soon, with the way
Right.
it's going to go.
Yes,
I don't want to see us scrambling in the last quarter of the year to try to burn through how we're going to direct these dollars. So I'd be good with allocating up to as much as possible now and have a, rolling application
Yeah,
process,
and then
Aaron,
just-
versus doing grants just in October, because I think let's have some
Okay.
people getting these,
yeah.
infusions of cash here and there to these businesses, let people see the improvements and then, hey, I like your new sign. Oh, actually, this is the program, like.
Are we putting a max on each business or property?
Folks on the Zoom, do you have any comments here?
On that point, I think so, limits, because what comes to mind for me is that this would be more applicable for businesses that are 1,000 to 5,000 square feet. But then if we have some of those larger commercial buildings that need a ton of facade work, maybe this is not the right program. And maybe those are buildings that need to be put on a list that could potentially be sold or leased to some of the larger businesses that we're trying to attract. So a cap would sort of address that, or have it be linked to like money, frontage, or square footage, or something maybe.
I agree with that. I think it should be based on those factors, as well as maybe the size of the company, the business itself, and their position as far as, how strong the company is and all that. I mean, you would hate to see something, a grant be given to a company that's kind of struggling right along, and then to have it all kind of come apart at the end, that doesn't seem like that might be a good idea as far as that goes.
Give Kimberly a chance.
I was just gonna add, and sorry, I had to step out for a second. So I might have missed this, but I heard something that one of the criteria was that it just had to be on like a commercial, like a major commercial way. I think it may make sense for us to prioritize, like if we looked at like downtown businesses first, or like focus on an area where those businesses would be given highest priority. But I agree with putting a limit on the size of the business and the size of the building as well.
Do you have in there that, I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, I mean, by focusing on downtown or Wakefield business districts, in essence, you are putting a cap on it. And as far as, a business going by the way, this is not a business sign thing. This is a facade improvement thing. So we made the point earlier about tenants may come and go. We want where the tenants are to be beautifying downtown Wakefield or beautifying a section of Greenwood or improving that look. So it's self-capping in essence by where you're using it. So I wouldn't get hung up on caps and business size and business space, because evaluate all the businesses that are in the 3 business districts. There aren't any of those, 1,000 employee businesses in downtown Greenwood. There aren't any of those 1,000, 500 employee businesses in downtown Wakefield. So, you're self-capping by what the structures are that you're actually trying to improve.
There's also a number of buildings that have multiple tenants owned by one landlord. So you could have, even Chris across from you, I'm thinking on Albion, where like Vito's and things right there. I mean, there's like, you could have like multiple, where, what LJ, LB Music used to be, for
Right.
instance, or Kikasso. I don't know, just, there are too many places, I think, where I think if you just have the scoring as you do, and just have a solid criteria, it'll kind of work itself out. But if it is something that is going to be, if the improvement's going to outlast the business, no matter what the business is, that's the value add for our town.
What if they sell the building? So that would be the other thought is someone improves it and then turns around and sells it. Is that something that we want to?
Would they strip, do you think they would strip the improvements?
They could raise it.
It would, but they would walk away with right? They would walk away with the Benny versus they'd be able to raise.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Right. So their profit would be.
But we'd have the benefit of the aesthetic of it, right? Which is all we can.
I'm wondering, is there, I don't know, maybe this is something for the town solicitor. Is there something where it's in the building can't be sold within the next year or something? Because that would be, I would not feel great.
I understand.
Yeah, helping someone with this facade and then they turn around and sell it for an extra $1 million because.
The thing is, Chris, if you applied for this, got this, and then you did a facade improvement to your building, and then you sold it in a year's time, would it really matter to any of us? Because your building would be improved, so the next person coming in would have a nicer space, right? Presumably, not that your space is nice, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know that I care if that's going to, we're increasing value. The other thing is if we're increasing property value, then that also means that the commercial tax rate, we're getting more in commercial tax from it. So we're also winning that way. I don't know. I don't know that that's really much of a concern. I don't think we're not giving money to someone in a tangible form that they're able to then take whatever they've done and move it. As long as we're not doing that, I think it's probably okay, personally.
But it's a thought of someone using us, because in essence, with our little chamber sign improvement program, we had people who, took a membership out, grabbed $1,500 and then didn't renew the membership. So I understand your point about I took your money, I just sold my building for an extra $500,000.
Right. And then maybe we don't know, the next owner is less amicable or something. I don't know. I was just thinking, like how would that play, right? But to your point, there's downstream benefits to that.
I think there's a lot of dilapidated and tired buildings in town.
There are.
That we could really, because, and this is the one opportunity as a municipality that we can actually affect improvements in a way that we can't otherwise, because we don't have any jurisdiction over their facades, our zoning, right?
That has been struggled with for decades.
But now we have cash in a way that, so we have a carrot in a way that we've never had a carrot before, to my knowledge, and probably will never have it again. So it seems just like a real opportunity for us to do the kinds of things that more responsible landlords probably should have done, but for whatever reason didn't. But we can kind of come in and help to move that along.
Something that can speak to the success of this is, the number of applicants in these business districts, that are, in the main streets, and their facade looks really terrible. And if they're applying for this, then, that speaks to how much of a need it is.
The scenario that came to mind for me is, what if it's a business that we don't want in that location long term? And I don't have anything against any type of business, but let's say like an auto body shop, like not a very nice looking auto body shop, and they want to update their facade, and ideally we wouldn't have an auto body shop there. I think there's one, well, I won't say where they are, but like that's the scenario that came to mind of beautifying something that a developer will one day knock down anyway.
I think that's stuff you just can't predict or control, unfortunately.
Right.
You can control it because it's an application process.
I mean, I always am hesitant about putting people that can apply, but in the past I did, when we did the sign facade, in Lowell, we did have liquor shops in there too. I did remove that because I know there's been a push to kind of improve their facades. I do have gun shops, pawn shops. I do have businesses that can't apply.
But, Ali, to that point, some people are anti-liquor. There's a liquor store that could use a new facade. So, there's, so what businesses you don't like doesn't necessarily mean they're not viable businesses. And this is a long-term, and actually short-term money for long-term benefit.
I think one of the things we could think about too is to Ali, to address your point, if we have one of the criteria being if it's going to preserve or enhance historical preservation or significance, because there are a lot of businesses that have really been kind of stripped of a lot of that. But if someone is willing to try to restore some more of the character of the original business, of the original building, then maybe, historical, preservation is given more favorable treatment. And that might address some of what you're referring to, Ali, at least to some extent.
So I'm going to do a time check again. Do we feel comfortable voting on this yet, or more conversation?
I didn't get a final answer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So one question, are we capping how much they can get? Is it 25, or are we capping what their maximum can be?
Get up to this group.
I would suggest we don't. And then as Aaron starts to get in applications, we can always discuss that, because just because they apply doesn't mean we have to rule on it, decide it immediately.
I think if you do a tiering on the amount, so if you're tiering the amount where it's, someone's going to come and ask for 50,000 and they need to give 50, 75% upfront, then to me, that's like a great investment, because then you're really leveraging the money that way. And I think that's kind of the goal. It's not the goal is but that's
I
also
agree with
really
that.
great.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, if someone wants 50,000, needs just 50,000, then we should be in a position to really help them out. But if someone needs a 500,000, well, then we should. And also, you have to think about what the volume is like. So when we get that out there, when we put this out there, we don't know how many people are going to apply for it. And I think some of those decisions should be made based on the amount of volume. So if we get like, let's say a round number 100, let's say, so then we know what those dollar amounts are. But if it's like 500 people, businesses, if I know it's nothing that high, but you know what I mean? It should be based also on, the amount of people that apply.
You had a question.
So you were saying then a declining percentage once we hit certain levels then. So like a 50-50 match up to X amount.
And then if it's X amount, then it's a higher. So if someone really needs, if they're like, I can redo this huge building, I can do historic preservation, I can do all this, but I need $70,000 and we should be able to say to them, and you need to put 75%. I can't do math right now. Don't think right now. So that they would have to put in 75% and we put in
25 in that case, then you're saying. So like, so say, just theoretically, like, if it's a 50-50 match up to the first 50,000. It's a 25%, 25 to 75 above that, until at 120 or
And I
what.
think at that point, it's up to your discretion, right? If you see something, you see a building that you're
It
like,
makes it tough though for me. I feel like discretion's always really hard. Because one thing I may think, someone else be like,
I think a 50-50 match feels all right.
yeah.
no matter what the number is.
50-50 price, yeah, because we also don't, just because someone asks for 200,000 doesn't mean we have to grant them that, and so we could say, well, no, you qualify for 100,000, we pay 50 of it, for instance.
You can always bring it back.
to-
If it's something you're uncomfortable, you can always say, look, I'm gonna bring this.
Not to like open a can of worms, but I think to that point, if someone asks for like 200,000 and we're like, well, we can only give you 50, what then happens if they're like, well, we really can't do much with 50 at all, like we have
Exactly.
to totally scrap our plan.
I think we need to know that. I think that's, I mean, like any grant, I mean, you apply for an amount and you might overshoot. But yeah, but if it's a facade that's going to cost 175,000 and we're not in a position to match half of that, then we'd have to go back to them.
The key word in all of this, you said it. How much discretion do we have? And so you get an application,
Yeah.
if someone wants $150,000 and we think that's going to be worth every penny for
Exactly.
what it does downtown,
Right.
then we have the discretion to decide if we want to do that.
Right.
So you can't, discretion is the fluid word in the course of all of this, and you're not going to really know till you have something in your hands in front of you, whether it's worth our opinion, because we're all here, because we want to be vested in Wakefield. So it's our opinion what the value is of that for the funds we have available. So we get, 3 applications and somebody wants $200,000 and we think that is the best 200 we've spent downtown in the last, 50 years, then yeah, maybe you do that. Somebody wants 200 and it's ridiculous, then next.
And we send them to Rocco, right?
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, Aaron, would you feel more
Yes.
comfortable just bringing the applications that come in just to the meetings? And then we can discuss them?
Yeah, how are we gonna vet this?
I don't
That's the next comment. That's the next conversation.
Yeah. I
Right,
didn't want
how
to
are we
be
gonna vet
involved.
it?
You've got the smart people in the room. It's you and the building inspector and the planning person.
Or do you want to say like over a certain dollar amount?
So I
or-
did
or
say,
Or if you feel like you wanted further input on certain requests, to bring them before us?
Yeah.
Would that work for you?
I think so. Major projects if needed may, oh, sorry, I was just talking about the zoning board of appeals, because some of these projects might have to go in front of the ZBA. Thought I put language about that.
I personally don't think we should be the vetters. I think the folks who work for the town should be the vetters.
It's pretty much Aaron.
Samantha.
And then Samantha, but I mean,
And
we-
Benny.
Building inspector.
Sephora.
Yeah, and Ben-
Yeah.
from a building, yeah.
Yeah,
But to that vetting comment, planning board, building department, board of appeals, as necessary. You don't give someone,
Right, right.
$25, $30, $50,000 without them having to do a little work.
yeah, I
So
do.
they've got to take it through.
Correct.
So that's your vetting, but I think we should be able to have comment on this we really need to do, or that is, yeah,
You're not ready to vote on this?
I do have-
It's gonna be midnight, right?
I mean, what if we just set like under a threshold, like under a certain amount, just passes through, and then if not, we can be in the discretion of Aaron, whether she brings it before.
I think it's, I know you don't like discretion, but I think you're gonna look at something and go, I'm not comfortable doing this. I'm gonna bring this to the council.
Well, I mean, they also have to follow all the bylaws we have.
No,
too.
of
Yeah,
course, yeah.
yeah, so,
And so you would vet it in that way and say, I've gone through with Benny, this is where we're at. And then
Okay.
you come it to us and then we can, discuss it. I mean, it's every 3 weeks.
okay.
Awesome. Are we ready for motion? Everyone on Zoom, we good?
I am.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that the Economic Development Council approve up to $400,000 towards the facade and sign improvement program.
Second.
I'll second it.
Was that Rocco?
Yep.
Rocco second. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Unanimous? Yeah, okay. You go, girl.
Then you can.
Excellent.
Market that as with the other 100, so it's really 500
Yeah.
available, Aaron.
Yep,
That's great.
okay. Right, thank you, everyone.
So it's 9:15. I really don't want to like take people's time, but do we want to, one more, or do folks need to go?
I just showed up a half hour ago, so.
You
I
good?
have like 15 more minutes-ish. Might be able to extend a little bit more. I just had to pick up some of the report, that's
Which
all.
one do you think is more?
So, yeah, this is my recommendation, not that I'd like to talk about the pop-up, but just give a run, and then you guys think about it for next meeting. And then we don't have to vote on anything. This can wait. This is small money, the digital marketing, in the grand scheme of the money. So something I've run before, something you guys can take a look at. I think it costs no more than like $30,000. So, I mean, I don't want to take away that's a lot of money, but you know what I mean? The grand scheme of what we just approved, but
Because you spoke about it last time. Did folks get a chance to read the digital marketing stuff? The
Yep,
document?
I did.
So,
Yeah.
I don't want to make an assumption that we're not ready to vote on that. Do we need more time with that one? Yeah, okay.
all right. So the one thing that's kind of time sensitive as well, is something I would love to do. I think it generates more than just, what's the word I'm looking for? I think there's just a lot of factors that play into it that generates a lot of great business for the town. And that's doing a pop-up. As everyone knows, we did the 2 trailers last year. He called them trailers, two.
You can call them trails.
Stalls, trailers, all the words sound terrible. Downtown, down by Galvin. They were very successful. Now we have Inspire Cafe coming. I think just because they saw how much the town supported them. And I would love to do a year-long pop-up in one of our vacant storefronts in downtown or somewhere else in town. There's just a property that comes to mind that's been sitting vacant and has big windows right in the heart of our downtown that I think could be a great spot. But anyway, so I've been working with this business called Up Next. They do Project Pop-Up. They've worked with a number of municipalities throughout the Commonwealth to do the pop-ups. They are working with Lowell right now, doing a pop-up for 2 years. They've worked with Brookline, they've worked with Melrose. So, and I have a working relationship with them last year. So I asked them to put a quote together of doing a year-long pop-up in our downtown. And here it kind of just gives an overview of what they offer. And so they offer more than just, basically the money would go to them and they'd handle everything. They'd be a partner to the town. They help us find local vendors in partnership with myself to go into the space for a couple months and so now put different vendors in. It could be 1 or 2 vendors. They're the ones that help me find the folks down there. They help with an educational piece. So helping these businesses, they're in different parts of their life cycle of being a business. They're here to kind of see if they can have a brick and mortar. And I don't know if anyone's, kind of heard the story down in Melrose with not clay and oak.
Paper and clay.
Paper and clay. There's clay and oak that does jewelry. I always get them confused. They now have a store in downtown Melrose, and this all started from the pop-up. So the ultimate goal here is for these businesses to see if they could support or their business could have a brick and mortar. And then also it helps our town fill a vacant spot, generate some buzz throughout the community. And so the educational piece that I started with and kind of got off track is they would help them kind of go through their business plan. work with them to try to see what the next stage would be. Is it locating here in Wakefield or a surrounding area? Because let's be realistic, as much as I'd love all these places to stay here, I'm sure some of them, won't find a space. But I just think, there's a lot that's covered in here, and if you haven't had a chance, go through it. It's more than just the store itself. They, again, help with the marketing. They get out the word about the businesses, about being located in Wakefield. They help clean up the space a little bit. They put in funds to get the space prep for the pop-ups. They put in fixtures. They help with signage. And then also they do all the consulting and managing of the space as well. And then they work with the broker or property owner, I'm sorry, to handle the rent and then also have events and things. So they'll give stipends to the brands to have events. So that's kind of a really quick overview. You'll see that there's like a timeline of how this works. There are a lot of events I've noticed too that they have, like I just said, but I think it generates a lot of exciting things. I think of it as a huge placemaking thing for our community, which is something I feel like we're kind of lacking right now. And so I'll leave that with you. Again, this is the only group I've really talked to. They really have a hold on the market. I asked them, I asked them who they've had to do RFPs for, and they said a few communities, and usually they're one of the only ones that are applying because they really are the ones that are doing it. But I don't think they're just telling me that because we have a good relationship now. I think they've really created themselves as people to work with on this type of stuff. So with that being said, the total of theirs is 110 for a year. And I would stay in touch with the businesses that would come to hopefully keep them here. But just something I'm throwing out to this group that I would love to use the money for. So that's that.
So everyone will take a look at the documents and we'll put that as a first agenda item next time. And if you have other, sorry, was someone going to say something?
No. I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, if you have other programs that come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to let you guys know, I did meet with John Swinsky from the chamber. We talked about revolving microloan program. That's not the official name, but working with our banks to use the ARPA funds as seed funding that would potentially go to the chamber and working partnership with the town. And then the banks who would help us manage it to have a loan program, low interest, no interest, whatever, for small businesses to apply for things, maybe improvements within their store. It always is mind-boggling to me that businesses sometimes have to pay for a new AC unit or things like that. So having maybe they can't get a traditional loan and being able to use this as a tool to get a loan. And then it'd be revolving. So they'd pay it back and then another business, the money would be there. So other businesses could apply for a loan moving forward as well. So the funding wouldn't die at the end of next year. It would live on. It would be kind of a small business loan program here in town that we could keep going in partnership with the bank. With the banks, it's kind of a public-private partnership. Me and John talked about it very initially, but we were going to put some things together. He was going to talk to the banks, so I can talk maybe more next time about that or the following meeting. I'll bring John in with me too.
Definitely.
also
I'd
something-
definitely be interested in that,
Yeah,
listening more about that.
yeah. I think it'd be a really good program. And something else I'll just throw out, it would be really nice to hear from our businesses too, where they'd like to see this money. I don't know if it makes sense for us to put a brief survey together, just saying where could funds for you be most helpful. I think I'm making a lot of assumptions right now of where I think it would be helpful, but it would be, I think, good if we did a brief survey to our business community and got them involved to know where they need the most help right now. I'm just throwing that out there for future programming.
Can I just add an asterisk? I love that idea because I do think like asking the businesses like how we could help them or are there potentials. I also I think about if we're thinking about future businesses, like I think about the farmers market, right? Like there are people who come to the farmers market. Are they looking to get a brick and mortar? Are they looking to expand? Those are potential customers right there, right? And so do we come up with something, we're getting close to farmers market season, of a survey for them, right? And I was talking to Jillian about Christine's, right? Who was amazing at the farmers market last year. now has a store in Saugus.
Mm,
Would have loved to have found her
Yeah.
something in Wakefield, right? So,
Hmm.
but there's the candle making and jewelry store, like, their potential for the pop-up, but also, are they looking for something more permanent and could we help with that?
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, and the businesses are, I got stopped on the street. Like, I don't think anybody knows who I am. I got stopped on the street and said, that money's for us. Like, literally said that money's for us. So they're aware of this. And so a survey, I think, is spot on. You don't need us to, you can just go ahead and do that, right?
Yeah, I kind of have a survey I've built upon, actually I did like 3 years ago during COVID, I probably would build upon that. I mean, the questions would be a little different, but that's where I came up with these other ideas is based on survey results I saw then.
I think we also need to get a brand this council to businesses too. And so even a survey, Economic Development Council is putting out the survey to you, interested in your feedback, They understand that, we lead in business, like, I guess.
What piece
Intended.
we walked in the door with?
I think all you can get, I mean, there's so much potential out there.
All right, any items not anticipated? One, the meeting's taking so long.
Do you have any cards right now I can take with me?
Yeah, I think I have to go to my office, I bring them.
Want to make a motion?
Motion to adjourn. Thank you all.
Second, were you second on that?
Second.
None?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.